Hello and welcome to another edition of Executive Corner Expert Talks. In this 20-minute roundup, I'll be speaking with Ryan Skeen, the CEO of First Au Limited. First Au Limited is an Australian listed resources company focused on exploring and developing iron ore, gold and base metal projects in Western Australia and Victoria. And as CEO, Ryan has valuable experience and a deep understanding of financial and economic markets, whilst also providing investment and strategic advice to complex situations. In the past, he's provided corporate advisory services to emerging multiple exploration companies with mineral project perspectives for gold, rare earth and base metals. So without further ado, let's now get the inside word on First Au firsthand with Ryan. Ryan, welcome to Kalkine.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here and give you an update on what's happening at First Au.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you here with us. Now, let's start with the big one. You've just completed a recent round of capital raising. How much was it and what do you plan to utilise it for?
Yeah, absolutely. So yesterday morning, on Monday, we just announced that we've done 1.84 via a placement to sophisticated and professional investors. And then we're going to raise another 450,000 via a share purchase plan to existing investors to give us about 2.2, 2.3 in total. And what that's going to allow us to do is to fast track our exploration over the next sort of 6 to 12 months. We're at sort of like the pointy end in terms of having tenements granted and really fast tracking some of our exploration, and this funding or additional funding is going to put us in a position where, you know, over the next sort of 3 months, we're undertaking a lot of preparatory work, and then from early next year, we're really going to hit the ground with the drill rigs and get things going.
Yeah, it's all exciting, all happening. You mentioned there's some of your projects. Well, let's take a look at one now, namely Dogwood. Now, First Au recently started a geological review at the Dogwood prospect in Victoria. What are the expectations from that review?
Yeah, so obviously, as we released, it was last drilled or explored by CRA Exploration in the mid-90s, which is now Rio Tinto, I believe. And they produced some really interesting intersections and produced some great results. But obviously, copper didn't have the same themes or supports in terms of ESG and transition to green energy and all those sorts of things back then. So we've reviewed all their drill holes. We've got an exploration plan, a drill program plan to commence in the first quarter next year. And we're hoping that from the review that we've taken in the drill program that we've got planned, that we can take the results that CRA produced and build on them and extend on them so that we can start working towards defining an economic resource at the prospect.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, another one of your projects is the Haunted Stream project. So far, that's demonstrated the potential for quite high-grade gold continuity over that 8.5k strike length. How significant is the opportunity at Haunted Stream, and what is First Au's exploration approach to that particular project?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that it's 8.5 k's of strike length and, there's evidence of high-grade mineralization along all 8.5 k's of it. And I think it's important to add that it may extend beyond the 8.5 k's, and we do have the tenement that extends beyond it as well to the northwest. There's clearly a really significant mineralized system that is hosted on the tenement. That 8.5k strike length, high grade rock chips and historical mining production suggests to us that there's something serious underneath the ground there. So I think that over the last 12 months, it's been a long time coming to get to the point where we can start doing some more serious exploration work in terms of drilling it. And we've got the approval recently, I believe 2 weeks ago, to commence drilling at the Ernestine prospect. Now, if you will look on a tenement map of where Haunted Stream sits, it's in the southwest corner of the tenement, and it represents only a very small portion of the whole prospective zone. So we're going to commence with drilling that hopefully in the first quarter, but definitely in the first half of next year. So we're working towards drilling that. it's obviously something that we've been working towards for a long time, and we're really looking forward to commencing that work and seeing what results we can produce. But at the same time that we're doing that, we're going to continue to develop our, doing with our in-field work, and our geologists are continuing to work on further prospects. I mean, I think we've, loosely identified about another 6 targets already along that 8.5K strike length. And it's about sort of refining and identifying what are our priorities in terms of being able to drill there, and then also undertaking the requirements to get to the point that we can drill. It is it is a bit of a challenge working with Earth Resources and the government to get approval in that area. But we believe that, we've learned a lot from the experience of the recent work plan that we've had approved. And we're really looking forward to accelerating or being able to do a lot more work on that tenement, because as you noted, it is highly prospective. The grades of historical production and rock chips are really significant, and it is our best prospect.
Look, you mentioned there the processes, and it's always good to know exactly what you need to do as a company to progress to that next stage where you really can get in there and begin the exploration. It can sometimes be a difficult series of events to try and work with the government on many of those. There's so many things these days, whether it be Indigenous land claims or particular environmental aspects that you have to take on board. So fantastic to hear that the processes are working along quite well. Let's turn our attention now to Snowstorm. That's one of your gold projects in Victoria. Could you highlight the company's current focus on the gold project?
Yeah, absolutely. So we announced in April and June 2 separate announcements, our previous drilling results, where we produced, an intersection that was greater than 30 grams per tonne, which is an ounce per tonne. And that was on our maiden drilling program. And I think that's a really significant result and something that we were really happy about. So we've been drilling there again we recommenced there about 2 weeks ago. And what the current program is designed around, or the focus is around what we believe were the 2 most mineralized zones from the previous drilling program. And I suppose drilling out from those or basing our holes on those and drilling some variations in directions and things like that, and effectively chasing the ore body, finding out, how far it goes and what degree of mineralization we have there. So like I said, we're drilling there at the moment. We're expecting to send the first set of samples off to the labs for assaying within the next few weeks. And then obviously results will follow that, or we will get results following that. Hopefully, not too long afterwards, but we're drilling there now. We expect to be releasing periodic results from that. And then that also linking back to what I was saying before, that drill program is going to lead into Dogwood as well. So we've got plenty going on in Victoria at the moment.
Look, that Snowstorm project has got a lot of potential, but arguably the Gimlet project, that one has got far more. I mean, you've got 120,000 ounces of gold resources that you're aware of. Now, in addition to that, it's also located in a very area rich for, I suppose, infrastructure and also potential toll treatment options. Do you reckon you could highlight the progress on that project and what is next for the project itself? I mean, it seems to be one of the most high potential ones you have.
Yeah, look, I think it's an interesting juncture for us in terms of, you're right that it's in a great area for, treating toll and gold extraction. And, we've got current options around whether we turn it into a small mining operation, whether we continue to do further exploration works in terms of drilling. Our geos have identified some further drill targets on the ground. And it's just about, making sure, looking at assessing our options and working through what is going to be the best in the short term and the long term for shareholders. So I think that's one that we're working on in the background at the moment and just trying to work through our options. But it's certainly, I mean, you're right, we've got 120,000 ounces of gold there. And, the potential for that, I mean, I mean, of course, there's going to be costs there, but from a revenue perspective, you simply multiply that by the gold price, and we've got a great resource there, and it's about, again, figuring out how we utilize that best for the company.
Yeah, well, that is the point, isn't it? I mean, obviously, the fact that you know what you're dealing with there means it's pretty much a zero-sum game of, okay, we have this here. How much are we going to multiply it based on the gold price? There's not a great deal more equations that have to go into it. A few little things that you obviously need to consider, but that one already looking like a very effective option.
Absolutely, and you have to work through, mine development costs and, all those sorts of things, and we still haven't got the mining license granted either. So that's another thing just to sort of remember that that is in the process, and hopefully it's not too far away, but that does factor into the decision-making process too. And then the steps required to go from, say, an exploration program to a mining operation, and how long that's going to take, and all those sorts of things too. So there's a bit to sort of happen with it, and we're working through that in the background at the moment, and as we sort of get or achieve significant milestones with that, we'll certainly be updating the market.
Absolutely. Now, there's also another one that we have to look at. It's the Maple Creek tenement there, which has just been, again, one that has a lot of potential for First AU. What are the exploration activities that you've lined up for that project specifically?
Yeah, look, it's another great, or it's a really interesting project, and it came about, I think we've sort of released this to the market when we sort of mentioned it, but from the Gawler Challenge, which is basically the South Australian government wants to increase exploration in South Australia. So they ran a competition about identifying the best prospects or the best targets in the state. And the winner got a $250,000 cash prize. So it's a fair incentive to do it. And we're talking about like some seriously reputable geologists that participated in the program. And the first and second place in the competition both identified areas overlapping the Maple Creek tenement or area that we've now got as being highly prospective for gold. We've done some further work, and it looks like it has potential to be an IOCG deposit, so iron oxide copper gold, which means that it's potentially going to have copper and gold. And it's not a comparison, but it's in the same province as the Olympic Dam mine, of which BHP owns, and that's hopefully we can get some economic resource out of it over time. But in terms of initial exploration, it is relatively early stage, and we'll be looking at undertaking things like gravity survey, soil sampling, and then drill target generation over the sort of the next 6 months or so. And I think probably the one thing to highlight as well, just while we're touching on this, is that our Victorian projects are our focus right now. So, and that's why, Gimlet and Maple Creek, they'll just be ticking along in the background. They're certainly not forgotten, and they're not things that we're just going, we're not going to do anything with them. It's just that Victoria is our primary focus. But Maple Creek is an interesting project, and one that we're certainly, keen to do some work on, some initial exploration work and see what we can get.
No, Ryan, you're 100% right. I mean, it's all about a balance when you've got so many moving parts across so many different projects and locations. You really do just have to prioritize them, but also not forget about them. So 100% there. Now, just as we wrap up, is there any other thoughts you'd like to leave with your shareholders?
Yeah, I think that the thing that I would probably like to leave with is that we've probably got the busiest sort of 6 months coming up from a news flow point of view and activity point of view. That, again, we're drilling Snowstorm right now. We're going to drill, or we've got a drill program planned for Dogwood, which is a great prospect in the first quarter. That'll also lead into Haunted Stream. We're undertaking exploration activity over the next 6 months at Maple Creek. We're continuing to work on Gimlet in the background. So we've really got a lot going on. And, I'd like to think that, if we can catch up in 6 or 12 months, that, we'll have had some really, really good success on those exploration programs, and we'll have developed our prospects a little bit further and delivered some great results for our shareholders.
Well, it's all looking up for First AU. That is 100% the case. Ryan, thank you so much for joining Kalkine today.
Thanks a lot.
That's Ryan Skeen, the CEO of First AU. And if you missed any part of that conversation, or you'd like to browse our extensive catalogue of expert talks, simply head across to our YouTube channel, Kalkinemedia, and make sure to hit the subscribe button. I'm James Preston for Kalkine.